Command 0 gives me full screen. Command minus zooms out. Command plus zooms in. Command 0 full screen. So those are the shortcuts that we reviewed the last time. On the right hand side, we always have our properties. Our tools are always going to be on the left, and our menu bar is going to be along the top. Now, we're going to work on using typography to express a certain type of theme. Like, let's say, for instance, we'll talk about type that says bounce, right? And so you're going to have to depict the typography to make it look like it's bouncing, right? So now, what are some ways that we can kind of make text look bouncy? What might I do first? A circle, okay. So that would be like a ball bouncing or something like that. But we probably would have to have something for it to bounce off of, right? So let's maybe make a line for like a ground. I can get my line tool, line segment tool. I can hold shift and I can create a line that just goes straight off, right? I'll put it there. And then get my text tool, click once, type in the word bounce, and make that bigger. So in this case, I'm just going to choose any type of text that is, and I'm going to go with something that's sans serif instead of serif. And maybe like this. This gives me a sense that it may be bouncing. All right. So this is Apple Casual. And now what I'm going to do is I want to control each letter, and I want to be able to make this thing look like it's customized. So I'm going to go up to Type, Create Outlines. I'm going to go to here, View, Outline Mode. And it went from being editable text to a picture graphic. With this group selection tool, I can click on each individual line and select each individual letter, and I can move it around individually. So then what that means is that when I select that individual letter, I can click and drag, and I can start to modify what this looks like. All right. So now this individual letter maybe comes down here like this, and instead of it being full scale, maybe I can do sort of like a squash and stretch type thing. I can create individual stretchiness to this letters. Like for instance, if I wanted to grab the direct selection tool, I can zoom in. I'm holding my space bar and command to zoom in and possibly grab some of the letters like this and start to individually manipulate how these letters look. Maybe take part of this and just kind of modify something like that. Try to make it look like there's some sort of impact where I just select part of it. And I'm using my arrow keys to kind of modify what that looks like. And I could even take part of it and do some sort of scrunch like that, where it just kind of looks like there's some sort of impact. And maybe I even take part of this one and just kind of and then so this becomes a modified text And because I wanted to try to simulate that there's something happening with this text, maybe, just maybe, I flatten this out a little bit and take this one, flatten that out a little bit, move it down. Same thing here. Click this, flatten it out a little bit. All right. And then if I wanted to get a little bit more clever, maybe I put a couple of lines. Black stroke. Take the stroke point size down. Maybe that's too light, so maybe put this at 7.5. You know, and then you can start to just play. Okay. Now, maybe these lines aren't, the lines that we want, right? So maybe I take those lines and they go away, but maybe there is some lines that are created that are closer to the action. Now, does this look like something's happening? Right? And so, would you agree that this is expressive typography? So it's expressing an action. All right, now, just to recap on what I did, because I want you guys to do the same thing with a different phrase. What I did was we created a document that's 8x8. We had a theme. We used our type tool, and then I went into type, and I went to create outlines for my type. It converted it from editable type to outlines, which means it's editable graphics. And then I used my group selection tool to be able to move individual objects around. And then once I can select an individual shape or object within that group, I can use my selection tool, which is the black arrow tool, to manipulate the size and shape. So I can select it, get the black arrow tool, scale it. I can create a new, artboard by clicking on the artboard tool, going into our properties, creating a new artboard. Okay. The first thing that you'll do is I'm going to give you the themed option. So I'll click here, and this first word was bounce, and what I want to do is I want to kind of know what the typography that you're going to be using. So this one is Apple Casual, so I'll say Apple Casual, and this will be smaller. And that will be, let's say, font used. And font used can be in a regular type, like I don't know, like a Source Sans or Arial or Myriad, whatever you want. But this is the font used. and you'll put that right up here in the corner like that. And holding Option, I can click Alt Option and Shift, click, drag it over here to the next one. And so each one will have what font you used and then the creative expressive typography. Okay? Any questions?